Should we get a clock in here?
No, that's bad podcasting.
Just like a nice old little
We were
clock.
looking at it the entire time.
People will be looking at it. Just
Oh,
like how
come
there's
on.
a clock in a classroom.
Good.
Everyone's
Good call.
looking at
You
it.
should get it and just make it not work on purpose.
Oh, and just have it always at like a certain time.
Nope.
6:09.
Know what a cool saying is even a broken clock is right twice a day. How killer is that?
That's
is
a killer
killer.
way
Yeah.
to start a podcast. The Michael Jordan Backend Show, boys. We've made it.
Whatever time you're listening at, it could be.
However you're tuning in.
It could be the time that we're recording it on that day.
Wasn't
Yeah.
that last week?
20.
I could
Oh,
have
wait a
had
second.
severe deja vu, but I felt like you gave that exact same intro last week.
I just listened to that podcast this morning, and I don't think that was 22, right?
This is the 23rd
Okay, so
podcast.
yeah, you're right.
Ty?
You're right.
Okay, yeah.
Then that's deja vu because I swear to God, you gave that 20.
I gave that exit.
Exit. He said
Oh.
we got the MJ of podcasts
Look at that
next week.
connection.
Yeah.
You're deeply rooted in the back end show right now. It's in
Yeah.
your head.
Do you dream about us?
Oh no.
So
Not
we don't have that
yet.
much real estate.
You
know
gave
that-
us a yet though, so it could happen.
Well, yeah, it's like when you dream in Spanish, that means you're fluent. When you dream in Backpocket, that means you can never escape.
What would you even dream about if you were dreaming about Backpocket?
Probably just not swiveling the camera correctly.
Oh
No, honestly, some of my worst fears are like, oh, I didn't press record on the audio, or like it goes in like stages. Like the GoPro would be like the worst fear. Like I check that the least amount.
Yeah,
just
if the
because
GoPro runs out,
If
yeah,
it,
you
if
ran
it
out.
runs out, it runs out. The other one is like there have been times where I've been on the camera and I like didn't realize that it had turned off, like it had beeped off because
Mhm.
it turns off after like 25 minutes.
Right.
And so I'd been like, I'm recording for like, I'm not actually recording, but I think I'm recording. But that's only
Yeah.
been for a couple minutes at a time. And then worst fears is that like the audio was not going. It's a podcast.
It's a
Yeah.
podcast. Your hierarchy of needs.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Have we've I feel like we've not hit record on a few occasions or something. Or
When we first started early on, we did it. I think maybe once.
I was fucking up that all the time.
But you work through it. You know.
Yeah.
I like anytime something bad happens, I was always like, I'm never gonna get mad at Andrew for this because like we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
Like this is not easy to do.
The two times that stick out were when we had to do the video like over the laptop, like Skype.
Yeah, this is how committed we are to podcasting. We had to record the back end show of my brother's interview that we did on 4/20 of last year. I don't know why I remember that, but it was around that time. And Andrew was FaceTiming from his girlfriend's house to me at my house
In Denver.
and we were recording the conversation. And then what happened? It didn't.
I
Was it the
don't-
YouTube thing that happened?
No, it was a QuickTime player. And remember how I had to like highlight something to hit stop record, and if I hit a button on the screen at all, it would just like cancel out your recording. Or I was just doing something completely wrong. I don't know, probably. But we did a 35-minute bit, and it was over, and it was all gone. And then we had to call him back, and it was bad connection to begin with.
Yeah, the Wi-Fi was just horrible. And then that's when we took the audio from each of our phones and then put it into the podcast together, which ended up sounding better.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's worse. And didn't you one time too, like, totally corrupt an entire video episode? And then you had to
This season, yeah.
shoot, yeah, you had to shoot a video.
Josh Parks.
Yeah.
And I did a video in my underwear because of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
Seems
the
appropriate.
week we
got a new follower from a 12-year-old.
So we were filming this.
Whoa.
We were filming this Ghost Fit episode that I had visioned up, and we had the Skyline specs in there. We had the Dots pretzels. Boys were hot with ads, but I'm like telling Andrew
And
like, hey,
opinion hat.
and opinion hat. And I'm like, hey Andrew, go over there and stand on that snow mountain and eat those, eat those damn Dots pretzels. And this little girl and her younger brother were riding on their bikes like by, and they're like laughing at us. I'm like, this is what you do when you grow up, kids, or something like that. And they're like, what are you guys doing? We're like, oh, we're a podcast, blah blah blah. And they're like, are you posting this somewhere? And we're like, yeah, it'll be on Instagram soon. And they're like, well, can we follow you? And we're like, yeah, sure. So we told them who we were, and then the day we posted that, sure as hell, that girl had an Instagram account.
Brick by brick.
It's pretty awesome. So hopefully she's been tuning in since. But
Interesting.
yeah, another crazy story, and I'm sure Mark Gamick will come on the podcast to justify it and tell the full story, so I won't go into the full details, but Mark got a date from the Backpocket.
What? Those are the kind of perks I should be expecting.
Yeah,
So-
you gotta give the story. This is hilarious.
Yeah, so this woman found us on...
Do we have to keep her anonymous? I think we should.
What's
but
her... Sorry.
We'll have the
Megan?
situation turn out.
Megan.
Well, I know her name, but do we talk about this stuff? Is this fun?
All right, here's
is
what
this
we'll do.
content? She listens.
This
She
is the
listens.
back end.
She listened.
This is where the stuff is meant
Okay,
to
She
live.
listened to, right? We can talk about it. Her
Yeah.
name's Madison.
Madison. Sorry, we'll bleep that other name that I said. Madison. But Madison.
That's something that we got to work on. Is when we don't know the answers, ask instead of like say
assuming.
no. Like I do this all the time and with the guys. Like, so you have 2 kids, right? I should have said how many kids do you have?
So you can cover up the fact you don't know for sure.
Exactly. Like 2 or 3, right? It was a 50. Everyone has 2 or 3. We want 2 or 3. Everyone has 2 or 3. It's just how the world works.
Right.
I went with 2. Carly had 3. Whoops.
You should just ask, do you have 2 or 3 kids?
Yeah, exactly.
Give her 2 options.
Do you have in between 2 to 7 kids? Because that's like, and do you not have an only child?
On a scale of 1 to 7, how many kids do you have?
Yeah, we got to do a better job asking those
Yeah.
type of
Also,
questions.
someone listening to that Carly podcast for sure just shut us off and unsubscribed after I said. So yeah, I didn't think like you were coming to this podcast. I just assumed you'd be like making dinner for the kids or something like that.
that
and I was
was-
like, oh man, like I don't know if that came
Yeah.
off the way.
I was sweating in my seat. I was just like, dude, you know better than that. Just like, don't put her in that box. She's killing
yeah, I
it.
know.
It was
I
a good
know.
thing she was chill. I wanted to ask her a question. I didn't get the chance to, which was totally fine. You guys were in a great flow.
Butt in, dude.
But about nah, I don't. I feel like I'm intruding. But just about like the whole, especially with the Women's World Cup, there was the whole like Julie Ertz, Zach Ertz thing, and how Julie Ertz kept getting referred to as Zach Ertz's wife. I wanted to ask her about that and just how
Oh, that's a great
because
question.
she's obviously had, has great success independently of her husband's success, and she mentioned it a little bit about that whole like TSN thing and
Yeah.
how she was kind of called and demeaned as just a hockey player's wife, and I wanted to get her perspective on that because
Mhm.
it'd be interesting,
Mhm.
especially with somebody that has accomplished as much as she has, before meeting her husband, who's a hockey player.
Mm-hmm. That's such a weird, and I totally I don't know if I understand it because I've never been put in that position. But when someone is looked at as like a side piece to another person, they know they're not a side piece. So at the end of the day, like you got to be bigger. And I get that it's probably really hard when you're at that caliber of Julie Ertz and Zach Ertz. I get that. And I'll never know. And maybe I will if I'm that big. Probably
Yeah.
not. But I just feel like that's in one of those situations where all these people that blow that stuff out of proportion, it gets kind of just like, really? That's what you're going to talk about? That's the change you're trying to make, is trying to tell me that like if we referred to Zach as Julie's girlfriend or whatever that is, like
Julie
that's
Ertz's
a
husband.
better way to describe the situation. I don't know that.
I think it's like a contextual thing. Like if let's use a Julie or Zach Ertz thing. If they're gonna go on like an Eagles fan account or something, like they were contextualizing it for Eagles fans. It's like, oh, many Eagles fans might not know that Zach Ertz's wife plays soccer, so they're gonna refer to her as Zach Ertz's wife, just for the sake of more people understanding. But if you're doing it in more of like a mainstream or even like from the women's soccer perspective, she should be Julie Ertz because people in that arena of women's soccer will know her as Julie Ertz, sort of a thing. Like you have to take in the right context. So
that makes sense.
So for Carly, if you're trying to share Carly to more Wild fans, it might be helpful to call her Jason Zucker's wife because Wild fans will know who Jason Zucker is, and you can introduce her as his wife. But once she's established and once she's like mainstream, like you guys didn't introduce her as Jason Zucker's wife, you introduced her as Carly Zucker because just as many people are going to know her as that, then are going to know her as Jason Zucker's wife. That's just how the context of this podcast plays out. But
we haven't done the intro yet, but that's a good point. Do we do the intro without saying Jason's name? Are we wrong to include Jason's name? I don't think so. I think we absolutely should. Like,
I think it's important context for
it's
people to
important
know.
context.
Right.
Exactly. We're not. Maybe that's not the first thing we say. I don't know how to. It's so weird that that's the thing that I have to worry about is putting framing her the wrong way because she's could be referred to now as only Jason's husband.
Well, I
or
think you
whatever.
should go and call her Carly Zucker and go off and list all the great things that she talked about that she had accomplished, and then talk about her husband Jason and her family and contextualize it like that, because from her point of view, she's he is her husband, and that's like what she is. He's not a part of her success necessarily. He's just her husband, just like her kids are her kids.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, it's weird because it's just like it gets brought up and you have to address it, and then it's now taking up that sort of headspace, and it's challenging you to think a little bit. But again, at the end of the day, it's really not that big of a deal, and it could be used in context. It can be used positively and contextually both ways.
we were talking about Mark Amick getting a date, and we ended up here. Still love to
Okay,
hear that
so
story.
Madison, this woman found us on, from what I remember, the discovery page of Instagram. She then
Nice.
threw us a follow. This was back in like January, and then has then listened to every single episode of season 3.
Hello, Madison.
Hello, Madison. She's listening right now for sure.
Hey, Madison.
We're talking about
how'd you like being in the studio?
Yeah,
putting on
she
the
was sitting right
headphones?
there. So
She looks at me later in the day, and she was just like, "I got to wear the headphones," and I was like, "Yeah."
Oh, she was from like around here.
yeah,
I don't know.
But she was here.
you're right.
I was a couple drinks in, and I was
Yeah.
Okay,
flowing and going.
as one does.
Yeah,
But
I was flowing and going elsewhere, I guess.
yeah, you know,
I missed this context, so carry on.
So she then, and she could correct me if I'm wrong, but she has listened to all our episodes. She then finds Mark somehow, and then likes Mark's Instagram post of when he came on our show the first time back in season 2. And she liked that, and that's a photo from, or a video from forever ago. Mark noticed it
From November of last year.
from November of last year. But I mean, like, in the
Correct.
context of
So she like caught kind of scrolling.
kind
through
of
his Instagram.
scrolling through his Instagram, right?
Madison.
But that's also a great
power
lead-in.
move.
It's a power move, in my opinion. Yeah, she's like, "Hey, I'm interested in you."
Well, if that's what her
Yeah.
intentions were, a lot of people just kind of like go through and they're kind of creeping. But if she was like, "Oh, I want to
Sure.
go out with this guy," then,
Yeah,
then she killed it.
Again, we don't know the intentions.
But
However,
we're going to frame it as if she was like hunting and trying to get more information on Mark, because she was like, this guy's a cool dude. I've listened. So then she liked that photo. Mark noticed it, whatever.
DM her.
They trade some likes and Mark DMs her. But she, during this time, had gone back, because she was already listening to Backpocket. She had gone back and listened to Mark's podcast and was like, oh, this guy's a cool dude. And so when they were DMing, she was like, hey, we should go get dinner and chat it up. I just listened to your podcast.
What a wow!
Yeah.
That's an underserved benefit of the podcast.
We're a sneaky bachelor service or bachelorette service for single males and females.
That's crazy.
Okay, if we go on I've never thought about this, but when you go on a date, do you ask, "Hey, did you listen to any of my podcasts?"
Maybe that's a way to lead in. Like before the date, you just shoot them over some links, and you're like, "Hey."
Don't.
Not even
Yeah.
that. Here's like the hardest part about this between the three of us now is there's just so much content of ourselves out there. Like for when Madison showed up for the first time, was like, hey, I've listened to all of your podcasts since the beginning of season 3. I was like, okay, I don't have to say anything. You know a lot about me. And she was like dying laughing. She's like, yes, I know a ton about you. I was like, that's so funny, right? Like, and I bring her up to here to the studio, and she's like, oh, no way, this is so cool.
Oh, that's
And
killer.
She sat down, we had a conversation, but I'm just like,
It's a cool thing.
I'm wasting my time here. Like, I want to know more about you. Like, it's so easy to just like give them the stage, you know?
Yeah.
As you always should.
Yeah,
But
that's weird. Is like you guys sort of emerge as local celebrities, that you'll run into people that feel like they know you well just by the nature of the conversations you have, and you'll have no idea who they are, but they'll know all these things about you,
Oh, and they'll know more about me because I can't remember shit.
about what you said about yourself already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's gonna. Yeah, I don't know. We're not stopping this anytime soon. So it's bound to happen more frequently,
yeah.
and that's priceless. Those are moments that are gonna be like me smiling ear to ear, like wow.
Right. So it's going to be great when it happens, because it's already happened, and it's super fun when people recognize you out in the streets, right? But I'm sure they'll get to a point where it's like, oh my God, I'm so sick of being recognized. So I'm just going to take it for what it is. Like when it comes, like I'm just going to be excited about it for as long as I possibly can and just be in that moment, because it seems, and it has been, phenomenal.
Yeah,
It's not like we do it for that reason,
No.
but like when you just head down grinding, like you finally look up and like people actually recognize what you're doing. It's like, oh, that's super cool.
yeah, we're just messing around.
Yeah, Andrew cried because of that, you know?
I did
When?
with Alexis.
Alexis.
Oh,
Yo,
I thought
yeah,
you cried
One
another
person
time.
DM'd
I
me.
thought you cried another time.
I've cried twice. Yeah.
Ever.
No, I'm a crier.
Yeah, on the podcast.
No, all the time.
Okay.
And all the time.
You were Carly made you laugh so hard that I thought you were gonna cry again, and I just thought it was funny.
God,
Like,
that was
you were just
hilarious.
springing tears left and right.
She had me dying a few times. She was good.
She was just sneaking things in, like the two girl one cup thing. 2 girls 1 cup, and I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa.
Sending D pics.
From left field.
Sending D pics.
She just called me
After you got an iPhone in
when I was
8th grade.
in 8th grade. I'm
Yeah.
like, No.
Brilliant. She's brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant. No, her bit about being like Jason Zucker's first wife, like she has that all over her Instagram and Twitter and stuff. So I knew about that one going in. But
It's
like,
gold.
what a phenomenal bit! Like that is a great bit to talk about identifying of who you are.
Yeah.
Jason Zucker's first wife is like the perfect play
Yeah.
at that. Like
And he's like the perfect person for that.
for
play.
that, right?
God, when he answered the phone, I'm like, God, they're so perfect.
Yeah.
Because he is literally just.
You could have been like, I don't know. Like,
He is probably a very simple guy in regards of like I don't need a lot.
Yeah.
Don't put him in that box. But we can put him in that box.
Yeah. Like just not
That's
very
a
high
broad.
maintenance. Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
That's a broad box.
It's a big box. We're all
Yeah.
simple guys.
Just eat, sleep, and poop.
Eat, sleep, and poop. Yeah.
Eat, sleep, rave, repeat, dude.
I lost my thought. I had a good point, but it's gone.
You had a point about somebody DM'd you after you were crying.
Yeah. Well, that was Mackenzie.
Oh.
She
Wow.
she
She was
was
the
the one
impetus.
person that DM'd me.
Mm.
That made me cry.
Oh.
Because she recognized us.
Yeah.
Very similar.
Now we're here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And that's another reason how we got Carly on. It's pretty cool how like we just connected dots. That's our profession too. Our profession is just linking dots to a next person, and that is one of the like no one needs that really except for us.
It's so cool when that stuff like comes full circle. Like I had a dude that reached out to me today, and like I remember looking at his LinkedIn like probably 6 months ago, and just like kind of seeing him and like in the context of Minneapolis entrepreneurs and stuff like that, and like now we're having a conversation over text, and it's just like it's not anything significant. It's just like that's
But it is
it's
significant in its
right.
own regard.
Yeah, it's just like it's interesting how that stuff comes full circle or those dots connects, and it's just interesting.
I love that, man. It is funny though, cause there's like cheesy in between scene type things where you see like the lines, like if they're traveling from somewhere, it'll be like a plane flying over the map to like the certain location.
Exactly.
That's like pretty much what it is if you were to plot every single guest, right? And you would have a line between like from season or episode to episode and how each person knows. Remember when we did that with Phil Zhao?
He got so annoyed.
He got so annoyed, but at the same time, it showed like, why are we spending so much time doing this? Because it was just like, what the hell?
To him, he thought it was useless because he's just looking for investors. To us, it opened our eyes to like, oh, we should be looking more into Giselle to get a couple more guests from her.
Right.
For us, it was so useful.
Yeah.
But he was like, you guys, no one makes money by doing this, going back and finding the ways that they were built connections. And we're like,
Right.
oh, yeah, you're right. And then like we looked back and we're like, oh, wait, this is how we actually should expand our. This is kind of the whole
impetus of the challenge question is really what it became.
Yeah,
because,
and dominating the sandbox.
Right.
It was very important.
Yeah. And what's cool about like how we've done it too is we have now like these different like lanes or resources to tap into, right? So like the reason we got Carly was by and large, I mean, by ourselves. We just reached out to her, but we built it off of like Unreal and with Michael Jordan, and from Michael Jordan was
And how do we get Michael on?
Social Butterfly, and him telling us to reach out to him, and like all these different people are all connected in that realm, right? Like the Social Butterfly, Michael Jordan.
Social goes back to
Zucker's-
Stationary Astronaut. That goes back to Giselle.
Right. I mean,
Which
it
is-
all goes back to
Sarah
Giselle.
It all goes back to Sarah Schuler.
Sarah Schuler's really the reason. Like, she's the one who's at the top, who sparked this whole thing.
She sat next to me in my project management course,
Okay.
and first semester, senior year, and come June after we graduate, I'm driving down to Hilton Head to go to my grandparents' home, and she texts me saying, "Do you know Giselle Ugardi?" I'm like, "I don't know her," and she's like, "She's a radio talk show host. I think I'm doing some stuff for her as an assistant. I think she'd be a great guest for your show that you could not stop talking about when you sat next to me in class." I was like, "Oh, sweet." And then we booked her like as I was driving down there. I booked her for when I got back. And honestly, like that has been like the launch pad to everything.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's killer.
Similar to like, I hope, and what's already kind of coming to fruition was like what Alexis could possibly be for us as well, just because she knows so many people and she's so excited about our brand, just like Giselle is and has been for over a year now. It's so cool because like anytime we were with Giselle, it was like, oh my gosh, you need Yam House on. Oh my gosh, you need this guy on. Oh my gosh, you need this guy on. And it was like we were just up, eyes wide and super aware, and we're like, okay, Stationary Astronaut, okay, Social Butterfly, okay, Dr. Matt Wiest, and like
Mike Schwann.
Mike Schwann. Like, I mean, the list goes on of people, and those have been now individual sources to now tap into that are also fired up about the podcast. So like Mini Ninja, when she came on earlier in the season,
Yeah.
Matt Weist trains with her like easy. He's like, you have to get her on, you know. And these guys are always consistently texting us every once in a while when a guest comes up. And it's so cool. The more people, really what it comes down to is like the more people that get fired up about your podcast, that are fired up about what you're doing and know the type of guest that wants to come on, they are more than willing to talk about you to them.
Yeah. I mean, you guys were like that for me too. It's cool that you can build up that much influence to then act like that. You know, for somebody like me, I've had so many great connections, and I can all trace it back to you guys when I came in and interviewed you, and now doing all this producing stuff. It's really been really cool. But it's just like you said, it's kind of just tapping into different circles. Like you talk about it all the time, but you know, Mini Ninja, now you're sort of in her domain, and you go to another one and you're in their domain, and it grows brick by brick like that.
Brick by brick. You just mentioned how you're looking to start up your podcast again.
I did.
Do you have a time frame on it?
Yeah, so I think the first episode is going to release like September 4th.
And you have not recorded it yet?
I've not recorded it, so I'm going to make a trip out to Lincoln, Nebraska. So I don't know if you guys...
Bo Pelini.
No, you're going to record with your boy who you guys started that big Twitter.
Yeah, well,
page
okay,
with,
so
right?
it's similar. It's like, yeah, that whole like community that I was a part of for a while and still am. But yeah, so there's some guys out there. One guy in particular, Hunter Rodden Slavin, founded Athlete Nation. He has a fantastic story. If he was ever in town, he would be like a killer of all killer podcasts. The long story short is his mom died of cancer when he was in high school. He then started a Twitter account to just try to share positive, stories in sports to help people get through tough times like he did. His avenue of sports, he wanted to do that for other people. He started this sports media company, and now that's what he's doing. Like, he dropped out of school. He's my age, so he dropped out of school and is doing that full time now. So he's crazy interesting story. So I got tied in with him, helped him out a little bit with Athlete Nation is what it's called. So I'm going out, and I've never met them before. Like, this is all happening over phone calls and FaceTime and DMs and text messages. Like, that's the extent of what I've ever met these people. So I want to go out and actually meet them. And this summer was a great opportunity. So I'm going to go out and record with him, his business partner, Nate Olson, who's an insanely good videographer. And that's, those two run that shop. There's a guy that worked with them for a while, a really good writer and designer by the name of Will Stone, who has come to be one of my good friends. And the funny thing is, these are all people I've never met in person before, but I still consider them to be my very good friends and people that I know like very intimately and very, very deeply. So I cannot wait to go out and meet them, shoot with them, so
that's insane.
Hopefully I should have 3 podcasts done then. And I've talked to you guys before this. I'd love to tap into your network, obviously, and just the network, and it's not even yours per se, but just the network that you have access to, and try to get cool guys on like that, or gals as well.
Now, people have a membership to
the Backpocket network.
Yeah, you have to pay a monthly fee.
Right.
Yeah, to be a marketing intern.
Yeah, and it's it's always a challenge for me that I don't want to sort of not overstep my bounds, but just step on toes, because you guys are obviously doing a great thing, and I don't want to be a copycat. But I think I can come at it from a unique angle, and there's always times where I'm sitting here and I'm just questions piling up, and you guys are great. You let me ask them when they come up, but I think it would be cool.
Or put you on the spot.
Or put me on the spot. Yeah, I always got to be ready. That's just now I gotta be
nature of the job.
Ready. Right. But and just kind of tap into those guys and their network and
sick.
Do that. So
I think don't ever worry about stepping on toes. Like, you have put in the work to learn about what your podcast is, who you are, like your vibe, your whole storytelling. Your podcast is a totally different vibe than what we're getting at. And yeah, sure, is it all about like the stories, unpacking the stories of like a bunch of different people on how they got there? Yeah, sure. But
so is every other podcast.
So is every other. Yeah, I get exactly.
We're not doing exactly what we mentioned off air. We're not doing anything that's world breaking.
Right.
Like we're not
we're having conversations, dude.
Yeah.
Like our whole mold is not changing anything. And one thing that I don't know if this helps clear your head of thinking that you're stepping on our toes is when you bring someone on that we also had on our show, dude, you're gonna crush it, and it's just gonna make us look better, right? Because we know you, and you're good at what you do. You love what you're doing. So when you have these people on, they walk away and they're like, that was an awesome experience. Austin Doomer, great example, like one of our great friends.
Yeah.
Loved going on your show, and that's just like we can continue to feed you that type of thing, and you can help us with other things like that, because we know that when our circles collide, that person's going to feel better and going to be better because of it. And I think that's the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just able to also build off the foundation that you've already set, like from their perspective. So for an Austin Doomer, I mean, I could name a bunch of people that were on your show and then came over to mine. Jay Laricus, another one that comes to mind, that I can just build off the foundation and help them tell their story better and help them sort of progress whatever they're working on. So Jay's a great example of, somebody that was working on Addiction U, fighting a really cool and noble cause that me just talking to him hopefully just helps inch his cause forward another centimeter, if that's all it is, but it's progress. So
right. And it's like we're interviewing like a Brandon Polizuk at a different time and then when he comes on your podcast, like he's gonna have so much more stuff going on, and so like the content even is going to be much different too. So that's another cool portion of it, is like we have our own brands, we have our own podcast,
right,
each individually. Together we're working together. Now we have brands coming on that are associated, or people coming on that are associated with both of our podcasts that are building like a brand, for the similar reason of like I will listen to Theo Von on Joe Rogan's podcast. I'll listen to him on TFATK. I'll listen to him on, if he ever goes on Chris D'Elia again, I'll listen to Theo Von's own podcast. So that's 4 different podcasts, all Theo Von.
That started with Joe Rogan.
That all started with Joe Rogan.
Sure.
Right? So like this is, again, we're not doing anything like crazy
right.
or out of the mill, but understand that it's all for a good cause, and it's all to, dominate that sandbox, but collaborate and just flip that competition on its head.
Yeah, and I'm excited. Bless you. And I'm excited to kind of get like back into it, because I felt like the first time around I did it, I was kind of just figuring it out as I go. I feel like I have a more clear direction. Like I've been
you got a camera.
I have a camera, first of all, but I've been spending time trying to like put direction to it, and you guys can obviously relate to this better than almost anybody. Just giving yourself a direction, and for me it was more just giving myself like just niching down a little bit farther, because I talked about it in like the last episode I recorded, but for somebody could look at it and be like, oh, this is just another dude that talks to entrepreneurs or influencers, whatever. Like
right.
Those people exist everywhere. And I want to just, to make sure that I had more of a given purpose. So, this season is going to be about talking to entrepreneurs and creatives that are in the Midwest that want to stay in the Midwest, and I want to pick their brain everywhere from why they're successful in their career, but then also why they think they're finding success in the heartland of America. And I sort of want to highlight this area that we're in, obviously starting with Minneapolis and then going out farther, because that's the only place I have access to. I don't want to be global because I just don't have that reach quite yet.
Right.
But just talking about why this is becoming sort of this innovation hub, and how they view that, and try to get just very specific with what I'm talking about and have more direction to it. So
love it.
I love it, man.
Thank you.
It's fun too, because you get to pick the direction.
I get to pick the direction, which is great. Like I just switched up the logo a little bit, so I'm making little tweaks, which is exactly why I did it in the first place, is because I'm the one that decides that.
Right.
I'm the jury judge and executioner on everything, and that's so much fun.
And you can take it as far as you want to. You can make it as big as you want to. You can make it as small as you want to.
Even if you're not getting paid, it's like that's the reason.
Yeah, that's the thrill of it all. How do you feel going on this break that you've had? How many months have you been off of podcasting?
I probably stopped in May, like early May, so right before finals started. So it's been like 3 months. It'll be like 4.5 months, since I had last released an episode. It's been great. I mean, you guys probably know, like, you're head down working so hard on this stuff, just because like, it has to get done. Like, you're holding yourself to the schedule that you're not going to miss a Monday upload. You're not going to miss a Thursday upload, whatever it is. Yeah. So you're so head down working on it that when you get a chance to like stick your head up and breathe, you're like, man, I was working really hard. Like, you may not note it in the time, but you realize like, man, I was working really hard, and that reprieve feels so good. But now I feel like I've kind of gotten to the point where I'm so used to not doing it that getting back into it's probably gonna be a little clunky and probably a little like, oh crap, why am I doing this again? But
you're staying hot on the mic still, though.
Yeah,
look at you go, man.
You can practice your articulation.
I'm getting my reps in.
You're in your reps in. You're in your off-season reps in.
Yeah, you get off-season workouts, and that's exactly what you're doing right now.
This is my training, which is good. So
it's like when D Wade and LeBron meet up in the off-season and just get shoot the shit together.
It's the banana boat.
It's the banana boat. We're on our banana boat right now.
Banana boat crew right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is like one of our distinct advantages, is that we know enough about sports.
Why is that an advantage?
Just knowledgeable. It's knowledge that people all can relate to.
That's the biggest guy thing in the world, at least from my perspective. Like, if you know base level. It has to be around where you are. So like for me coming to Minnesota, a little different ecosystem than like Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
But if you know like one thing about each of the major 4 sports, like you can talk for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, I just think. Sorry, I should have backtracked a little bit.
Like, I'm confused. Why'd you bring it up?
I mean, we have a podcast that's not about sports at all, but we can bring on, like, you know how Carly was saying how she wants to get sport athletes on to not talk about sports. Like, that's what we can do that very, very easily with like a Chad Greenway, where he can come in, he can talk sports, feel very comfortable, do all this stuff, but like really the impetus of his whole story, what you'll find out is it's not really about sports. Sports had an influence and everything, but like our being able to talk him through that kind of stuff and have that conversation with an athlete just goes much further, is kind of what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
Whereas like Joe Rogan interviewing like a bunch of sports athletes, which he's done in the past, but like Joe's not in very much into sports outside of UFC, you know, so like he doesn't really fit that mold or that person as well.
Yeah. I think another thing is for us, that to use Joe as the example again, it's him and the guest. So like there's so many times where I have no idea what the guest is saying, and you can talk.
But I do. Are you saying?
Do. Yeah.
Okay.
Or at the other hand, like you're gonna get to something and with a guest, and I have the upper hand, or I can I can connect better for some reason or something like that. That plays to our advantage
totally
more
agree.
times than it hurts us.
We
know when to be quiet, I think.
No, we definitely do. One thing that was really cool, speaking of listening to Back in Show 22, was when you guys were talking baseball. Do you remember that?
Vaguely. We've talked baseball quite a bit on this podcast.
Yeah, but when you were talking about your average quality turning 2, and you had, in the moment when I was actually on the podcast, you were explaining, you know, how there should be a left shift when there's a lefty at bat so the second baseman can turn 2 quicker. And I heard that the first time through, and I was just like, what the hell are these dingoes talking about? Like, I don't, like, whatever, bag it. But then I went back and listened today. I was like, that's genius. Like, the way you were like, the way you described it, and the way when I went back and actually like listened to it intently, I was like, oh, that is super, super smart. So just an example of like a time where I was lost in the dirt, but you guys were on an entirely different level in terms of the mound, I should say. The diamond. The dirt. But I think 2 heads are better than 1 in that regard.
Absolutely.
It definitely works to a sense. Sometimes you got to control the beast a little bit.
Yes.
Tame the beast.
Sorry,
dude. I got to be better. That is actually, I mean, if we're going to 35 minutes into this bad boy, my average quality is definitely that. And also, more specifically, talking over people. I need to work on that so badly. But I'm getting better.
I think you're aware of it more times with other people.
Yeah.
He talks over me.
I talk over Andrew.
Was that on purpose?
Yeah.
He talks.
That happens so often, though. You're right.
Yeah, he talks over me when we're off the podcast more times than when we're on. And then on, you're good. You got the headphones on. You're locked in. You're golden. You can actually feel the pace of a voice. But when you have a thought going without the headphones on, there's no stopping you. No. It was hilarious when we met with Lola Red and just kind of walked through our pitch deck.
Oh yeah.
I was just, and I can't talk over you without the headphones. That's literally like, it will sound very awkward to the person in the room if I were to continue to talk.
Tackle me verbally?
Yes. It would be very like awkward for the environment. So like whenever you do it, I'm just like, all right, I'll wait a second, because if I try, then I'll just make a scene. Like I won't know how to like make it seem like it's subtle. I'll probably just be like so irritated that I'll be too vocal and make it awkward. I know that about myself.
Right. And you're good in that regard. But when you do it non-verbally, like if I ever like do a curb check on like, how's Andy doing? Am I crushing this pitch? And I look over and you're just like, then I know it's Andrew's turn to talk. But I mean,
I've been trying to do hand cues, just like.
Right. Sometimes you're like pointing at me like, dude, keep going. You're tearing this to shred, like you're crushing. Or it's just like oh my God, Dick.
How about when we met with Coach Caruso about Homie?
Oh, yeah. So Andrew and I have given a ton of pitches now. We've already got not a
Sure.
ton.
We've given a
like
handful of
4
pitches together, which is
together,
hilarious.
but on different
various
things, like not even the podcast.
We were speaking
sometimes.
to our head coach, who's very firm. Like you've heard plenty of stories already.
Mhm.
And Declan, coach was about to share something, and Declan was going to talk over him. And I knew that coach was going to have something that was going to be like he wanted to share before. And I think this was like the second or third time I've noticed him do it. And I just like subtly, we were sitting right next to each other. Like I literally just go like this, and to like right as Declan opened his mouth, I just put my hand on him very, very quickly. In my head, he saw it right away, and he goes, "Well done, Andrew." Like vocally, he just fucking.
That's awesome.
He was like, he's just like he thanked me.
Yeah.
And looked at Declan and then started talking.
Oh, that's killer.
It's serious. It's a
so
bad
funny, dude.
It's a bad thing, man.
Yeah, but at the same time, like there's a lot of good that comes out of it too. So
Yeah, there definitely is. Just because I have so much, like I think a lot of it's rooted in just like whenever I have an idea or a building point on someone else's point, it's just like I want to get it out there, but at the same time, it just takes like 5 seconds before you get it out again. You know?
Well, good thing you have a podcast.
Right.
Share all your
All the
wisdom.
things that I'm not good at.
what if he didn't have a podcast? What if you didn't have a podcast to articulate all these thoughts, Deck?
Then you'd be a LinkedIn guy. You'd be a LinkedIn video guy.
No,
Yo,
I would
you would.
never.
Yeah, you would.
No, I wouldn't. I would never be a LinkedIn influencer or whatever the hell
You tried it for a little bit. You
do you-
went on a run and you took a
That
sweaty
was the
video.
first ever LinkedIn video I ever
Oh,
posted.
Did you really?
He did a sweaty run video.
Oh.
It was legit.
It was so funny.
I don't mean to bash LinkedIn video influencers because they're I think it's cool what they're doing because it's kind of like a new wave of content on that platform, but there are some are fantastic and I know many that are really good. I edit videos for somebody, so I hope there are at least some that are decent.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, man, there are plenty sweaty videos after a run that are just like, what am I watching you for?
You think?
Mr. B2B sales master.
Yeah, Mr. B2B marketing
Yeah.
expert guy consultant, right?
SaaS sales, something or another. Like,
Yeah. I will say, like, the only reason I like got into LinkedIn ever was Mark Mitri, and I think that guy does it better than anybody in
Mhm.
terms of like being a good LinkedIn influencer.
right.
But dude, I mean, 95% of the things I scroll through now on LinkedIn are just like garbage. Because anytime I go on LinkedIn, it's like, why? First off, why are you on LinkedIn? Second off, it's like if you're on here, you better do something, and just to like make sure your name's seen. So I always will comment on stuff, but like, it is so hard to comment on a guy's post that you've seen 40,000 times at this point, and it's just like the same thing over and over again. So, end of the day, it ends up just becoming like Gary Vee, David Meltzer, and Mark Mitri
Yeah. I think all those guys are trying to be
themselves.
them,
Oh.
you know, be like Gary Vee or David Meltzer, and it's just they get on a soapbox and you don't know to what authority they have to be on that
Yes.
on that soapbox. And so it's like, I love the people that are like super practical, like they do, you know, oh, this is a really practical tip for people trying to make videos or people trying to do graphic design or like that stuff. I think is killer. It's like
you want to watch it.
I can go and literally implement that right now. Like
Yep.
I don't care about your philosophy on so and so. Like there's just all these people are philosophers and it's just tiring. So
Very tiring.
that's what it is.
Yeah. I don't know. It's an issue, but it's also like they're doing so well, you know? It's like working on LinkedIn, which maybe even is the bigger issue.
Well, that's just part of the platform. Like video is new literally within this year to LinkedIn. You know,
Yeah.
before 2019 really. I mean 2018, like late 2018, but people weren't
Mm-hmm.
posting video like they are now on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
It's like the early stages of YouTube. Like if you went back and watched like YouTube, like if YouTube started over again, but you knew what YouTube was now, and so you had to sit through the first 10 years of YouTube, you'd probably be like, God, this sucks, right? You'd probably be like, this
Right.
is awful.
So
where we are
you're
with
saying I
LinkedIn.
should stick with it just to...
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it'll come around.
I tell myself that every morning on the toilet when I'm posting my LinkedIn post for the day.
Yeah, I think yours are good. I mean,
Okay.
the consistency with yours, and it comes from an authentic place, and it comes from a place like I said. My problem with it is these people are you don't like from what place of authority are these people coming from? Like,
Good
why
point.
should I care about their philosophy on things? Like, not that having a podcast gives you authority, but it at least contextualizes it a little bit, like
Right.
why you're talking about what you're talking about.
Mm.
Some of these people are like, you can't just put up a phone and tell me how I should be going about my marketing strategy because who are you? You know,
And you don't even know me.
right?
right? Like the one thing that works for you maybe doesn't work for everybody else.
Yeah.
That's, again, goes back into the Carly thought of just like moving on, right?
Seriously.
We put too much thought into it, and it just gets tiresome in
So
that
true.
regard as well, right? It's oversaturated, and then it can get oversaturated in your head for thinking about it too much. I've fallen in those traps all the time, and it's just stupid that how we think about social media. It's brutal. But
Your average quality.
my average quality,
Sir,
I'll roll with
Andrew.
it.
Average
We were
quality.
Yeah. Jesus. We were going to talk about this, or we did talk about this on our way to Canterbury the other day, of how little Deck and I interact with women outside of the podcast. It is priceless. I work with one other guy in a basement, and then I come home and I work with one other guy in a house of
in
three
an attic,
other
in
guys
an attic.
in an attic.
Not ground floor guy.
I got the third floor. I got the basement. I got it covered. I lack the first and the second floor. But and then on the podcast we get to have conversations with some really cool women. But like outside of that, my time is at altar. That's like I get like a 50-minute window where it's just like a breath of fresh air of no more testosterone people just fucking being all
So
meat-headed.
So true.
It's bad. It's sad. It's kind of rad.
I wouldn't say it's sad. It's for sure rad.
Yeah.
For sure rad that you get to show up and work out and sweat with other
No,
girls.
that's my only time.
Oh, yeah. That's rad. I don't think it's sad.
You don't think it's sad?
No.
Why not?
Because you're just in a stage of your life where you aren't like you're not wanting to even like not associate,
Well,
but
it'd
like
be
talk
nice
to
to have
more
like
girls.
a work setting around, you know?
Sure.
Just like a daily interaction.
But
Like
you are getting the daily reaction though, as far as I'm concerned, right?
like working out next to someone
Yeah, and getting them on the podcast. I mean, you're interacting
Sure.
with girls enough, I would say,
to remember that they're alive.
to remember that they have thoughts too.
Normal human interactions.
Yeah.
Talking to them on podcasts,
Exactly.
not workouts.
That's average.
That's what
Yeah.
everybody does.
feel
I
like-
mean, for me, it's like very similar to Andrew. I mean, altar is the only time I see women consistently, and then on the podcast when we just open the floodgates for all women.
Yeah.
But yeah, on my job site, like Andrew was talking, works with one guy in a basement. I work with 225 guys and 2 girls.
What a ratio.
What a ratio! Like it is an absolute beef fest. It's hilarious, and so you get caught up in it sometimes. But
Yeah, that's my average quality.
Yeah.
That's our average quality.
that's our
kinda
average
together.
quality.
Do you
That's
think
great.
do you think it's because like you guys have been football players your entire lives and you played 4 years of football in college? You're just around a lot of dudes that you like don't not find yourself like not needing to be around girls, but that's just your norm.
Well,
so.
that's part of it. I mean, it's you. I mean, when you're on a football team or when you're in this camaraderie of guys, you learn that love is your boys, and so
Oh
you
my
just,
God.
dude, you just like have a good relationship with dudes is really what it comes down to. And like, of course, there are plenty of opportunities to have girlfriends. We have girlfriends. It's just not like girlfriends, but like girls that are friends.
Yeah, I get you.
Either way, yeah. Do you need a new battery from your camera?
I feel like at this point it's just like for the YouTube watchers, sorry.
You're abandoning your side.
Yeah.
Okay.
So everybody, Tyler's camera ran out of batteries, so now his content grabs are now gone. Ty, what's your average quality?
Dude, why do you shit on my? I said content grab once, and now you guys.
I say
Now you've been using content grab a little bit satirically, but you've been using it a little seriously too.
seriously for
Yo,
sure.
we
Yeah.
we are not using it in a dickheaded way.
Okay, well you did for like the first time I saw you after.
Bro,
Like the first 2 times you said content. How's your content grab?
I used content grab in my
Shove it, Andrew.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, well one of you said it. Probably
That was
Jack.
me. I think I did say that.
Okay, but you said it kind of like an asshole, if I'm remembering correctly.
Because you
Damn it.
listened to the back end show, we were talking with Jack, and be like, yeah, Ty's off on his content grab.
Even when I saw you
baby.
with like Steve Schussler, it was like, "How's your content grab?" Like it wasn't recorded, but it was like you asked me how it was, and I'm like, I didn't like how you said that.
Damn it. Sorry. I didn't mean to. I actually fucking love the word content grab.
Yeah, I know.
I used it in a post today actually. For no, but I used it in a dickhead of the way. It was #1 influencer photo spot, Banff National Park, and then like my caption below was just like, "We all want to get content grab at Banff National Park, but the Instagram influencers have saturated the market.
I mean, that's the only way I could describe what I was doing. Was it wasn't for any other purpose other than to get like literal social media content. That was what I was going to do. So it was on the spot.
Yeah.
I made up that phrase.
You're right. I do use it very satirically now. I'm thinking about it.
Don't let the LinkedIn influencers get a hold of that.
Yeah, don't. Then I'm moving on to a new word.
Yeah, that's fine.
Or
I'm
phrase.
okay with that then.
Yeah, I just think it's funny because
Then we can make fun of it.
we can make fun of it because we're actually providing good content from what we think. You know, like we're putting it out there.
Stop. With
Shots fired.
Not stop. But this is like the mentality of just like war.
I just think we have the ability to make fun of the situation because there's a lot of people out there that just aren't doing much with content, and it's hilarious.
Sure.
Yeah,
So
I think if anybody's in a point to like make fun of content, it's people that are making content.
Yeah.
And probably making it objectively better than other people.
Yeah.
My average quality is biting off more than I can chew. So
Nice.
looking into the school year, this summer has been great because I get to go to work, and then once I leave work, like I don't have any obligations outside of work, which is great. It's not like school, right? Where you go to school and you have homework and there's just always stuff you can be doing. Like you can always be getting ahead in school.
Yeah, we've graduated.
Right. But so you know that side of it, and then you also know the work side, which is once you leave, you can kind of check out mentally. And you guys come here, I come here sometimes. So I'm, looking forward to school coming up again because it's fun and it's great. But I often forget, like, I'm going to have homework and I'm going to have stuff to do 24/7. So it's going to be like Backpocket stuff. I mean, it's just going to be like, I'm not saying I'm
where
like,
we fall on the totem pole.
Man, yeah. I mean, we're going to have the conversation eventually, like how often I can come in, because it's going to be like, it's not like I can come right from work to here and be like, I don't have to worry about anything until 8 o'clock tomorrow. Like, in this time during the school year, I should probably be doing some homework or be writing a paper or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that part of it, and like starting my podcast again is another part of it where I just like forget, like that stuff takes time. And then my boss asked me the other day if I want to continue working part-time, and I'm like, oh, that would be nice to make money. So like that kind of stuff. So like just partitioning it all where it works and like agreeing to stuff, and then like having like too much stuff going on, biting off more than I can chew. I got to work on that. I got to figure out how it all just kind of shakes out in the end of the day. But I'm really good at once I get a routine, like being consistent and stuff, like with the podcast, once I nailed down like what the routine was, I could crank through stuff and get good stuff out. Same thing with school. Like when I know when I'm going to do homework, same thing with work. It's just going to be a matter of like figuring out that regiment. And I know that first 3 weeks is just going to be like
overwhelming,
stress hell. And just like, what the fuck am I doing? Like I got to cut out, I got to stop doing the podcast. I got to stop doing Backpocket, like all this. Like I'm gonna have those conversations with myself. I'm just gonna have to find like a routine.
It's the routine and it's the schedule for sure.
Yeah.
I'm already trying to envision how you're gonna do. How many classes do you have?
I don't know. I have like 16, 17. Like it's a full credit.
Okay,
load.
so you got 4 classes.
Yeah.
You'll be all right.
The U works differently with credits though. It's not every class is 4,
okay.
like St. Thomas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's probably around, most classes are around 4 credits, so it's probably like 4 to 5 classes. There's one that's only half semester, but like
That's nice.
yeah. So like the back half, and it's nice because that class when I have it is a 3-hour block on Thursday.
Yeah. So it's just in and out.
Yeah. So then like it'll be in and out. It's also only half semester, so the second half semester that whole 3-hour block will open up.
Yeah.
On Thursdays, so that would be nice. But
well, if you have one night that's always open,
yeah,
I'll always try and book then, and if you
Mhm.
can't make it, just let us know ahead of time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we'll have
we're
figure
going
it
to
out.
continue to send you those calendar invites and just
Yeah,
accept
I mean,
Right.
it's killer. I'll
Because
accept
right now
it.
your schedule's in such trance, so I'm having to ask like when and when you can't come on,
Yeah.
which is fine. But the second you get like a good like opening in your schedule, like Tuesdays at night, like then I just try and load as many podcasts on those days all the time, which is one thing like we got, because sometimes we do bite off more than we can chew as a podcast, but we used to really, really take these hearty bites of things. Like we would, and this is a lot on me, was, I would just like book a ton of guests. And Andrew and I would have, there'd be like 1 week where we'd have like 4 or 5 podcasts and we'd just be like doing it all night. It's just like, what are we doing? Like,
yeah,
we were slaves to the guest in terms of like, hey, are you available? Like, what nights are you available? Right. And they'll throw out a Wednesday. And then I go to the next guy. Hey, what night are you available? We're not available Wednesday. Okay. Thursday. So like we would just be booking our schedule like crazy. You never know what was right from wrong. But this season, especially, we've tried to stay on the routine of like picking nights that work best for us and then filling the spots for those nights.
Yeah. And those Saturdays are good.
Saturdays have been the
Those
best
are good.
ones.
And,
Saturdays are our favorite.
Yeah.
Now we're starting to love them.
and then when you have a whole front load of, like you guys were talking before the show, like you have a ton of guests already recorded and stuff, so
Yeah.
that helps.
We got a big trip coming up too.
You got smart with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you gotta be smart.
We got to get finishing up. We got.
Oh yeah, we got our
Roo-
roommates going to
roommates
bed. It's
going to bed.
9:30.
Yeah.
Okay, quick. What did you learn? Who wants to start?
I can go really quick.
Really quick.
It's not gonna be that quick.
Yeah.
Do you know Brad Parcel?
No.
I sent you the documentary. He's the guy that ran Trump's Facebook campaigns in 2016.
Like paid?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a PBS interview with him, and the dude, like, you could easily look at it like he did a lot of bad things, but I think it was all just brilliant.
Sure.
And really, it's not. He didn't do anything like outrageously different than what they typically do with sending out mass mail and mass TV spots and radio spots. He just did it more efficiently with Facebook ads. And they spent, I think it was, I told you, I'm blanking on the numbers, but I want to say it was
1.5 million ads, right?
No.
Creatives or something like that, right?
Yeah, they spent 90 million, or was it more than that?
It was 80 million on 1.5 million ads.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
They spent $80 million, but they had 1.5, I believe this was the number, but I could be wrong, 1.5 million ad variations, where Joe Biden, like Facebook Now transparency, you can look up how much money companies are spending on political
And social
issues. Like, that is a full transparency now on Facebook. So you can look at it now. So in 2020 or 2019, Trump is still the leading ad spend, but Joe Biden and the Bernie Sanders and who's the woman running here?
Amy Klobuchar.
Anna Klobuchar, like, they're all in the same, like, you can see how much they're spending. And whatever they're spending is still a ridiculous amount, but it's a tenth of ad variations as Trump, because he has so much content. And the other ones have just your typical billboard type spots of like vote for Joe Biden type mentality, where it's the other videos are just endless stuff of President Trump saying everything and anything. And because of that, like, ad variation and stuff, it was so easy for this guy Brad Parcel to create all this marketing awareness and marketing strategy. It was actually freaking sweet to listen to from like a marketer's
a
perspective.
back end standpoint. Yeah.
That's so cool.
It was very, very cool. I
I'll
haven't
send
watched
you-
the full thing yet, but
You'll get jazzed.
Yeah, do that.
it's on YouTube. I'm definitely going to tune in very soon. But
Mm.
yeah, I love how you attacked it positively, because they're like PBS. I think I was
The guy
watching
was
a part of it.
Crying almost.
Yeah, it was like
The
insanely.
interviewer
The interviewee was going
Yeah.
in. But yeah, go watch it or tune into it. It's very, very cool.
Ty, what did you learn?
I learned about this thing. Well, I knew about it. I just didn't know what it was called. It's called the Irish Goodbye. You know what that is?
I do not.
It's basically, I don't pull it a lot, but I'd like to be able to pull it more. It's basically when you just, like, excuse yourself to go to the bath. Say you're at a bar and you're like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom, and you just leave. That's called the Irish Goodbye, apparently. And I haven't done it, like I said, I haven't done it a whole lot, but now knowing what it's called and like knowing I heard people talk about like different ways. It was on a podcast and they talked about different ways they've done it before. I'm definitely going to start implementing it, because I'm definitely a guy where, like, if I'm feeling it one night, like, oh, I'll be out pretty late, but more often than not, I'll be like, man, I'm kind of tired, and it'll be like 11:30 and I'm like, I just kind of want to leave or not be here anymore. I'm definitely an introverted person in the sense that, like, I need to recharge my batteries, like, alone, especially when it's late at night and I'm like, I just want to go to bed. So I'm gonna start implementing some of the things that these people did, like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom and just leave, or be like, oh, I'm gonna go get another drink and just leave, or all these sorts of things, and just leave unannounced.
Yeah, not bad. I love saying goodbye to people, actually. But I do it so my way is, it's similar to all of our friends, but it's just like, you get up, I'm leaving, and it's just, you just fist bump every single person in the room and you walk out, no matter who it is.
That's
And,
good.
Yeah, and you just walk out and make it so quick and nonchalant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm almost the opposite. I'm like, my outros are probably my biggest asset. You know, I'm giving like the freaking rock on, just like,
Yeah.
right on, brothers, or, you know, whoever it is. And again, you try and keep it to a minimum.
Yeah.
But
Because it's a very Minnesotan thing to keep to when you feeling
to
like you're
stay forever.
yeah.
Yeah. No, and you get roped in pretty, and that's the problem too, because I also like saying goodbye to people, and I feel like there's like a point in just certain situations where like, oh, it's appropriate to have a long drawn out goodbye, or it's appropriate to just be like deuces, like
Deuces,
knocks and you're out. But that is a problem where I'll get drawn into these long goodbyes, and it happens. We talked about I have a huge family. Like all these things happen where you start talking to one person, and then it's like
Brutal.
it just turns into this like you can never leave.
Yeah.
And so I just am gonna start implementing that a little bit more.
Start
and, like,
sprinting out of
and
places.
just ducking out.
I love that. Literally
Okay, time to go, and you just
drop
bolt.
a cup, throw like your hors d'oeuvres over your shoulder.
Yeah.
And just get your knees going, man.
Mm-hmm.
High
I
knees.
think you
We
leave
still
it in
give you
that way.
advice, dude. No matter if you like it or not, you're gonna get it.
Whether you want it or not, we're here for you.
I have a bit. That's my video for. So the week. My video on Thursday is us. Getting
Really?
Yeah.
The one where we just say, all right, we're just going to let you drown?
Yeah.
Dude,
It's
that is
pretty
like,
good.
it is so funny.
There's a
I'll
funny,
show you it.
Okay, well, there's a funny one that you guys posted about like you said like I had 750 relatives or something like that.
Yeah.
I thought that was killer. I'm like, yeah, that's funny.
Yep, dude.
All right. What'd you learn, Decky?
I learned that I rarely think about how I'm perceived.
Wow, you got a lot of self-awareness in your reflection period today. Talking over people.
Yeah, and
not perceived.
I rarely realize or recognize how I'm perceived.
Is this the content grab?
Yeah. So speaking of
This is why I
grab,
love it, because Decky content grabs in full effect right now.
Decky content grab, Decky BTS, Decky B-roll is in full effect. Like once I figured out, I mean, what I really learned is that you can turn your iPhone, if it's like a 7 or 8 or higher, it can film in 4K, 60 frames per second. So you can record these insanely nice videos. And so I've just turned into like a walking content grab guy. So Decky Content Grab will just turn his phone sideways at night. If there's anything cool going on, I will film it in 4K and think I'm the coolest person in the world. And I don't, at the time when I'm doing it, again, it doesn't even enter my brain how other people are looking at me. I'm just doing it, smiling my ass off. And I have some pretty cool videos, but then I look back on them, I'm like, what was I doing, dude?
And from my perspective, it's gold, because I can see him get like all excited, and he walks around with literally the biggest smile on his face, and he's got this like hunch to him.
Oh, that's so funny.
And I'm doing like
He looks like your old
So you
grandfather.
just had like bars and stuff, like just out.
Yes.
Yeah, we were out like at a rooftop bar, and it was like sunsetting, and we're just out there like tons of people.
Yeah.
We were with Corsel, actually. It was Alex Corsel send off. And I'm just freaking filming every angle of the cities with the sunset.
That's really funny. I feel like when you're out like that, like my motto is like I'm never gonna try to get like. It seems like you're really trying hard to get good footage. Like
No, he's not trying at all.
Throw a snap in like the snap memories, and
Yeah.
You're good.
No, that's the thing is like I've now eliminated the potential of like putting it anywhere. I'm just literally grabbing that physical footage, and it's just on my phone now.
That's so funny.
But
it's
I'm
great.
now using it because some of it's actually pretty sick and aesthetic. Sick and
Yeah.
Yeah. Facebook ads.
Put on LinkedIn.
No, Facebook ads.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, because there's actually I'll show you a couple after, but there's some good content there.
I thought it'd be cool for a while to like. Obviously, we're kind of like a generation that's obsessed with like getting those like videos and stuff. Like I thought it'd be really cool to just get a bunch of disposable cameras and just like bring those out and not even worry about like taking
that's a
pictures
really
on
good
your phone.
idea.
Because I did it for my friend, so my friend had a birthday party earlier this summer. I'm like, it'd be super cool if like I just brought a disposable camera and like I didn't worry about taking like Snapchats or anything, and I just brought a disposable camera. It was taking pictures. I like let other people take pictures with it, all this sorts of stuff. Only problem is I can't find a place to get developed. Like the Walgreens and like CVS by me do not develop film. They sell it, but they don't develop it. So I still have to get it developed.
So there's a barrier to entry to the production.
Barrier to
side of
entry,
it.
and they're also kind of expensive. Like I thought a disposable camera would be like $4. It's like $12, which is kind of
there's a
bummer.
lot of
That's 2 Chipotle runs.
Yeah, but the thought was there of like not worrying about what a picture looks like and just taking it and having it serve the purpose of like, oh, that was a memory
of a moment.
of a moment, right? And then
great-
not worrying about what it looks like.
Great point.
Thank you.
What are those cameras? I mean, the way to fix this is the ones where you take it and automatically- Polaroids.
I think those are cool, but then I
Shake
keep
it.
yeah,
Shake it like a Polaroid. Shake
polarized picture.
Shake it.
But then I catch
Shake it
myself
like-
taking like a Polaroid picture and then like looking at it. Like I don't even want to like look at it.
Right. You want to be reminded of it later.
Right.
Mm.
Sure. I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
All right. Feel good story, anybody?
Oh my gosh.
What's making you feel good, Deck? I know you did it last week, but what was I going to say last week? Because I had one. You had Josiah, which was awesome.
Yeah.
How about Greg performing after 4 years of work?
That is really cool.
4 years of work playing the guitar. He performed
live.
He performed live,
Whoa.
which was really cool.
Opened with a guitar solo. First time ever playing acoustic guitar in front of people. He's playing in a crowd of like 40 at a bar at 10 o'clock at night. And they start with the song Amy. Amy, what you... So that song, by the very beginning of that song, starts with a guitar solo. And he freaking lead guitarist in front of everybody. Plays the whole E scale flawlessly.
Good for him.
It was kind of the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
And then Maria Vitale singing the national anthem at the Twins game.
That was
That
sick too.
kind of like blew me out of the water.
Yeah. That was nuts.
So our friends doing some cool things.
Yeah, so we got our friends going outside their comfort zone and, to be quite honest, grabbing content.
I hate you so much.
Oh, man. Good podcast, fellas. Hour and 3. Beautiful time. Wouldn't want to trade it for anything. Next week, we have, Josh Scheffner. He's a guy we got in touch with who's doing a lot of cool stuff with farming in Africa. And then we have
Cavi Brennan.
Cavi Brennan. We messed up last time.
It was Clara.
It's Clara. Face of Bocella. Now we have Cavi.
So we already gave you the preemptive. Go
Yeah.
back and listen to the end of episode 22.
Yeah, and then you'll understand who Cavi is.
Yeah.
Either way.
And
Regardless.
Then it'll lead you perfectly in because you had the 23 into the 23 at the beginning of this episode.
Yeah.
You'll
So
hear
there's a
me get
lot of good
confused. Exactly, yeah.
connections
And
there.
then next week we'll have the Ike Taylor of
Podcast
Back
Back
and
and
Show.
Show. Oh, man. I mean, that is just all time.
And Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah.
No, was he 27?
Champ
No,
Bailey.
he's 24, I think.
Yeah.
I was going to say Marshawn Lynch. So
Either way, there's a lot of people named 24, and we're going to be talking about next week. But until then, love you guys. Take care.
Take care.
take care.
But I've been thinking of the way you felt when you watched me rolling over the horizon line like we're lightning. It hasn't rained for a long time.